Welcome to another episode of Sit Down and Heal with Coach Derek. My name is Coach Derek and I am your host. I'm a certified relationship coach and even more powerfully, a healing journey coach. So I help you heal from the ground up so that we don't have to keep working on the stuff in the middle. We're going to get you straight. So make sure that you are following me on whatever platform that you see me on. Subscribe, follow. This is broadcasted live on TikTok, and TikTok is where I lay my hat. But YouTube hosts the replays, so make sure you check that out. The links are in the profile. And tonight we're talking about boundaries. What are boundaries versus being controlling? Because sometimes we get confused, and I want to make sure that we clear it up tonight. So I would have to say, and hopefully everybody's had a great start to their week. I'm here every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then right after this show at 8:30 p.m. we head over to the Discord community called Mind Your Mental. And Mind Your Mental is something that we're going to talk about a little later, but you need to go ahead and just get in that bio and find it because it's there. It's right at the top. So let's go. Boundaries. I would have to say out of 10 people that I talk to, I would say 8.5 of them have boundary issues that they need to work on, right? Which is also loosely related to, working on things that fall under the umbrella of trauma, childhood wounds, things like that, right? But the boundaries is where a lot of us fail because we do have things to work on. And this is how I quantify it for you. When you do your healing, right? Whether you attempt to do it alone or whether you do it with, a therapist, coach, you get help from somewhere, right? You will start to discover who you are, why you have done some of the things and how your behavior patterns show up. And then you actualize and really own, hopefully, your true authentic self. Once you are aware of who you are, then you place healthier boundaries around you, right? But most of us don't do that because we are looking to attach to people to make us feel better, right? And so when you look online and go to these different podcasts, they'll tell you that you need to have better boundaries. And then people will say, okay, cool, I'm going to go ahead and make my boundaries up. But what you're really doing is you're using controlling statements, and they're not really boundaries, even though you feel like they are because you feel like you're protecting yourself from things. So we're going to do a few examples of how you distinguish between the two so that you don't make the mistake of being a controlling person versus a person that has healthy boundaries. Now, here is the wordplay here. Healthy boundaries, right? A lot of us don't know how to create them or even know what they are. So I do have a workshop called How to Create Healthy Boundaries. So if you need to understand and learn how to create them, I have a workshop in my link under the workshop button that'll tell you how to do that. But I suggest that you talk to me first so I can guide you to where you need to start, because creating boundaries may be, you may need to do some work before you even think about trying to create them. So inbox me or click the link in the profile, and you can go under workshops, and there'll be like a little a form that you can fill out so I can help you along, okay? So let's talk about what boundaries sound like versus what it sounds like if you're controlling, right? So I have a couple notes here, so I want to read them so that I don't lose myself. So having boundaries is communicating how you will act. Okay, I'm saying these slow on purpose. But being controlling is communicating how you want them to act. So I'm going to give you a few examples. I think I got about 4 or 5 of them here. And then we're going to talk through these, and then we're going to talk about the larger picture. So having boundaries sounds like this. I try to be off my phone after 9 p.m. So if you don't hear me, that's why. That's a boundary. Being controlling says, don't text me after 9 p.m. See the difference? One of them's like a command, like you're talking to a child. And I know some of y'all boyfriends and girlfriends, you probably did have to treat them like a little kid, but that's not the goal, right? We don't want to have to mother them. So think about it. I try to be off my phone after 9 p.m. This is like, I'm just letting you know. This is, so when you call me after that, don't, right? But we're going to dig a little deeper, so just stand by. The next one, having boundaries, sounds like this. Taking responsibility for your actions and how you react to things, right? So now this is where I want you to pay attention. This is where I want you to listen to what I'm saying. When I read this next one, right? The one I just read, think about it. Taking responsibility for your actions and how you react to things. How you react to things. Well, the only way that you're going to know how you react to things is you're going to have to understand why you react to things. What are your triggers? Well, you're going to have to figure out those things before you can create these types of boundaries, because you just out here in the wild, wild west with your triggers. So we got to learn. We got to understand ourselves first. Sometimes we're going to have to do some shadow work. Sometimes we're going to have to learn about our attachment styles. Sometimes we're going to have to learn some things and understand ourselves before we can even think about doing this. You know what that means for a lot of you? Don't date. Stay in the house and sit down and heal before you go outside, because your boundaries don't work. You know what's amazing is I talk to a lot of people that will tell me their boundaries don't work, and then they keep going back outside. Stop it. That's why a lot of y'all don't like me, because I'm like, don't talk to nobody yet. Don't pick the phone. Don't answer the text. Don't do it. Because your boundaries are weak. And then you're going to get hurt again, and you're going to be like, see, I told you everybody's trash. No. Stop it. Right? That's because you only been with me for a little while, sweet tea. Ask Tanya. There's certain things I'm real convicted about. And that's because I love you guys. I don't want you guys to keep making these same mistakes, because then you're going to keep blaming it on other people. Stop it. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to sound. Because you know why I sound like this? Because y'all don't listen to me. I'll be like, don't date. You're not ready. Your boundaries are weak. You just got hurt. And then next week you'll be like, so I met this guy, and I'm like, you did what? So what should I do? I'm not answering that question. Let's go. So having boundaries is taking responsibility for your actions and how you react to things, right? Being controlling is trying to take over other people's actions and how they react to things. So let me say this last one again, and let me tell you what this looks like in practice, right? And yeah, I'm a little like, because y'all be playing in my face. Please don't ask me how to go, who I should talk to when I told you to sit down. Y'all think this title is just because it's cute. No, some of y'all really need to sit down, like, for a while, and like, don't stop. Just stop it. Because I don't want y'all to come back hurt in like 2 weeks. Like, it's only been 2 weeks and I'm devastated. Stop. So being controlling is trying to take over other people's actions and how they react to things. So let's talk about this for like a minute or two. People who do this controlling behavior, a lot of times it's built off of you having responses to your trauma, i.e. having a wall, i.e. having people perform to prove that they should be with you. Notice I said perform and not qualify. It's a big difference. Performing means they're doing stuff out of character. I need for y'all to understand what I'm saying. You want people to be their authentic self so you'll know if you need to leave or not. But when you make them perform, it's confusing because now they're pretending to be what you like. I hope y'all caught that. So when you think you're putting up a boundary, you're really like, no, I'm not taking it. You need to do this or it's not going to work. That's not a boundary. You're trying to force them to be something, right? So I think I got like a couple more. So here's another example. Having boundaries sounds like this. I like you, but since you're not sure what you want right now, and I do, I think it's best we stop talking. Now, being controlling sounds like this. You need to figure out what you want because I know what I want. You see? So the first one, you was willing to leave because you're standing on business. The second one is you're going to wait until they figure it out. Think about it, guys. What you waiting for? There's no alignment. You've already checked that off. So you have to ask yourself, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for them to transform into what you want so you don't have to leave. Abandonment wound. I can't leave. So y'all think we be playing about these attachment styles and all this other stuff. It's cyclical. It all touches each other. So what you don't want to do is make somebody have to feel like they're forced to conform just so that they'll stay around. And if you flip the perspective around and you find somebody that is happy to change who they are and perform, it's still a red flag. You didn't win. You got another traumatized person that's people pleasing you so that you don't leave them. Let it soak in. Let it soak in. Think about it. Just sit and think about this for a minute. You are out in the dating pool trying to make people change so that you don't have to, so that you don't leave, so that they stay around. It sounds weird when you think about it out loud, right? Like, you want to make them change. So then you have to ask yourself this question. If they are in a constant state of changing for you, how could you ever vet them? How could you ever successfully have a qualification or vetting process against somebody who has to constantly perform by your directive? And do you really want someone that you can control like that? Don't answer that, because some of y'all do. But by and large, you should not want someone that wants to jump and do all of these circus acts for you, because that's not their organic self. And if it is, both of y'all need to come holler at your coach, because so here's another boundary, right? Right, exactly. Spiritual priestess manipulation. So y'all think, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. Hold on, just give me a minute. So many things. Having boundaries is leaving a relationship when you realize you're incompatible. Alignment. Seeing if you're equally yoked. Do the core values match? Who's stopping to do that anymore? Right? And if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't line up, you leave. But you don't. You have to ask yourself why. What kind of attachment style do I have? Why do I keep grabbing onto this person? And I know it doesn't feel right. What's wrong with me? Well, not what's wrong with me. Let's not use that terminology. What do I have to work on? Right? Because I don't like to use words like crazy, wrong with me, wrong with you, because we're a product of our experiences. So a lot of times it's not, the outcome isn't good or bad. It's just the people you interact with, sometimes it doesn't work out because you ignored a lot of things. You didn't set the boundaries up so you don't leave. And those of us who stay way too long, even though it hurts and it's abusive early, we got to ask ourselves, why do we need it so much? Right? Being controlling is attempting to change the other person so that you're more compatible. Did you hear that? I alluded to it before I said this. You're attempting to change the other person so that you're more compatible. Right? It's something about them that you want, so you're going to try to shoehorn the rest in and hope it works. And you know you're not compatible. Think about this, guys. Manipulation, forcing, controlling. When you're supposed to be looking for somebody that you align with, that is their organic self, while you're your organic self, and then you meet in the middle because you've done all of the qualifying along the way. Right? So, I don't know how many wine. I have one more left, and then we're going to talk about some more stuff. So, having boundaries is letting someone know how to mind your emotional and physical well-being, and it promotes intimacy. Being controlling is instead of trusting them to show up for you, you're demanding they act a certain way. So, it's the demanding for me, right? Now, a lot of us know exactly what the hell I'm talking about when I say demanding, controlling, because we've been in those relationships where we had somebody that was telling us how they want, and you was like, oh God, I got to change how I, this isn't me, but I don't want to lose them, so I'll do it. Anything to make them be quiet so we can get back to being happy. Meantime, you're not even yourself anymore. That's why they say the term, you lost yourself in a relationship, because you gave them ownership of it. Your authenticity is gone. You ever had like friends, or you seen people out in the world where like there was one friend that might have been popular, and then the other friend, people don't even really know their name. They be like, oh, that's John's friend. And I'd be like, no, my name is Derek. And they're like, nah, we just know you as his friend because you don't really have a voice. Oh, I'm not laughing. And then what you do is you perform for acceptance. Right? Yeah, quiet definitely doesn't always mean happy. I had the passport and the stamps on that one. So, but you're the popular one, John. You're fine. So that's the thing, right? We don't want to try to make people change, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk to like what boundaries, how to set them, especially in your relationships. What's going on, Keeney? So that we have an overview of this, right? And there's a million other ways and examples, and we'll speak to this, right? Because we really haven't talked about consequences to the boundaries yet. So we're going to get into that in a minute, right? So let's go down these bullet points that I wrote down about how to set them. But with the caveat, if you really need exhaustive work on this, I do have a workshop that speaks to this and teaches you how to create healthy boundaries. But I would not suggest you take that until you take the shadow work in the attachment styles beforehand, so that you are prepared to create a healthy boundary. Don't just say, I need better boundaries, and go take it, and you haven't worked on healing from your abandonment wounds. It won't work. Hard stop. It won't work. You will repeat history because the things you haven't worked on are going to lead the charge. It's the little boy and the little girl saying, nope, not today, because you don't even know I'm here. So I'm going to go ahead and keep picking for you. So The first step is to identify how you want to react in a relationship or how you don't want to act in a relationship. So when you start creating boundaries, this is kind of where you start. You're not even in the relationship yet. You're not even on the date yet, right? This is self-awareness. What would I want my relationship to look like? And it's not like this rigid thing, but most of y'all don't even have an idea because you just want to be liked. Yeah, I said it. So you want to have a general idea of how you would want it to look and what things may you need to, create boundaries so that it doesn't affect you because you've done the work, right? So the next step is to communicate the boundary to the person that the boundary applies directly to. So it's not enough. I'm going to read what I wrote down here. It's not enough to simply say it. Effective communication and therefore effective boundary setting involves confirming that the person received the appropriate message. So it's like asking, what is it you just heard me say? And then the person should be able to accurately summarize what your boundary is. If they cannot, either you are not communicating it accurately and effectively, or they are struggling to hear you. Repeat or reform what your boundary is until what you're saying and what they reflect back match. So this is important because if a person doesn't have a clear understanding of your boundary, they will keep pushing against and it's going to piss you off. And you don't want that. I hope. Some of y'all, never mind, let me be quiet. So the next thing is attach a consequence to the violation of this boundary. So I'm going to read what I wrote because I'll be pulling stuff from everywhere. A boundary with no consequence doesn't really have an effect. It's important to emphasize that this can read as a threat or ultimatum, but it's not. Because remember, the boundary is telling the person what you're going to do, right? An ultimatum is a demand followed by retaliation, usually of the same caliber. So it's like giving them a taste of their own medicine, but a consequence is merely the effect of an action. There are natural consequences to a person's choices. To refer back to the yeah, exactly, relationship coach Chris. They have to understand it. So it's a natural consequence for you to remove the person's access to you if they can't respect your boundary. This should also be communicated effectively and reflected back to you accurately, right? So it's like when you put a consequence around your boundary, right? And you say, if this happened, I'm going to have to do this. And then make sure that they understand it. Because a lot of times these boundaries are set, like when you guys are not, there's no conflict or anything like that. This is what this is what I'm going to have to do if this happens, right? Then you have to make sure they understand it. If they say, yes, I understand it, and they can repeat it and refer it back to you, then when they violate it, they should not be surprised at your response. Because they heard you, right? So it's almost kind of like, when you have these agreements and you have to click yes, I read the agreement, and then you click next. Well, when you put that check, you're responsible for everything that came above that check, right? And I know sometimes it'd be like a novel, but you get what I'm saying. So the next step I have is you want to build a warning system, right? And this is how, depending on who the person is, you may give them a little bit of grace unless they keep doing it. So the violation of a boundary isn't always intentional or malicious, right? So we have to be mindful of that. It's not always a malicious attack if they, push past or try to get you not to uphold your boundaries. So you're going to have to make an assessment of kind of like their character and how they've been treating you up to that point, right? And you won't be able to make this clear assessment if you're still dealing with trauma. So when it's not their own boundary, it is easy for a person to forget, especially over time. I think most people and most boundaries deserve at least one warning stated like this. Hey, remember when I told you that if you say such and such a thing at Thanksgiving dinner, then I will leave? Well, the next time this happens, that will be the consequences. I'm going to leave. You can absolutely choose not to build in a warning system, but I like to work under the assumption that your relationships are valuable enough for you to give them a chance. So the example that I pulled, it said this person reserves 2 warnings for children in exceptionally difficult boundaries. 3 strikes should be almost never considered acceptable. Even with 2 warnings, you run the risk of setting a precedent that the person may violate your boundary only this many times, and then they could take advantage of that, right? So if you write 1 warning, right? That's why when I pulled this, I was like, it depends on what it is. So here's the thing, right? Welcome in, Stephanie. So a lot of times you don't necessarily want to say, yeah, I'm only going to give you 2, because then they're going to ride up to the edge of it and then pull back, and then some time will go past and they be like, okay, I get 2 more. You don't want to do that. So here's the part that most of us have an issue with: following through or enforcing the consequence. It's extremely important that you follow through on your boundary, and it is attached to consequences, or you run the risk of doing further damage to your relationship by showing you can't be relied on to basically be about your word. Because once you let them keep going past it because you love them, it becomes a pattern and normalized. And you have to pay the price for that internally. Yeah, they definitely won't get to know how many. It shouldn't even be a big number, right? So there's a lot of nuance to this, right? About the consequences. And then we also have to take into consideration the reaction that they have to the consequence, right? And that's where most of us are afraid. We don't want to see a consequence. We don't want to have to deal with potential conflict that comes from enforcing our consequences. And that then makes us retreat. So that's why this is hard. For those of us who hate conflict and it gives us anxiety and we don't want... I don't have to read this part. So think about it. You're going to have to pick your hurt, right? So you could be hurt because you got the reaction from them and you didn't like it and didn't feel good, or you enforced your consequence or you don't force your own consequence, right? So let me back it up. If you enforce your consequence and the reaction that they have hurts, or you don't enforce it and you're quiet and you still hurt on the inside, but you've detached yourself from the thing that's triggering you. So eventually you're going to be all right. But the other way, you might end up staying because it's hard, right? Those of you who've been coached by me, who have gone through the whole boundary thing, it's difficult. And a lot of times these boundaries aren't even with romantic relationships. It's like family, parents, siblings, people that you can't detach from. Ooh, it's not easy, but it's necessary. We have to do it, or we will erode on the inside. And a lot of us have eroded on the inside so much that we think that's how it's supposed to be. But it's not. You deserve to have a life where you have peace of mind. Right? It's debilitating sometimes to have to keep telling somebody a boundary, but you never enforce it. And they looking at you like, whatever. Right? How many people been in a relationship and you was like, dang, I need to leave. Hey, if you yell at me like that one more time, I'm leaving. And then you don't leave for 5 more years. They don't believe you. And then this is what y'all tell me, right? Well, why don't they just leave me and then it'll be easier? They don't have a reason to. Why would they leave? Well, they say they miserable here. Why don't they just leave me? Because they like the pancakes you make in the morning. They don't have to worry about nothing because you still keep doing it. There's no reason to leave. So you're going to have to stand on business. Oh, I hate saying that. Why am I? You have to stand on your word. Now, a lot of this stuff can be handled like early in the relationship, but a lot of times we don't enforce them until after we've all gone through a whole bunch of abuse. And you're like, now, if you do that again, they're like, I already did it 30 times. What are you talking about? You should be used to this now. Why now? Why boundary now? Like, what are you doing? So it doesn't even have to be that egregious. It could be a family member. They so used to you doing whatever, and they're like, what, now? And you have to say, yes, now. Absolutely now. And they're going to have to eat it. For your betterment. See, this is the problem we have, right? And in a couple minutes, I'm going to stop and tell y'all where I need to go next. So a lot of cases, we want to have a little bit of, I don't think I finished this part about following through. You have to, I already went through all of this because this photographic memory. So I've already gone through most of this. So boundaries should not necessarily be firm and unwavering. People and circumstances change, so it stands to reason that boundaries can too. Again, the communication and the comprehension is key. So we have to, so here's the caveat, right? If you are making a good assessment of the alignment that you have with your partner and their character and how they move and how they treat you, then you should be able to know if this boundary is going to be appropriate for this person or not, whether you have to leave or whether it's something you can work with and these type of things. But I'm never an advocate for somebody that just disrespects the hell out of your boundary like every day and you just supposed to sit back and take it. That's not what I'm talking about. So in about 20 minutes, we're going to move over to the Discord community. And what that is it's a community called Mind Your Mental that I'm affiliated with. I am one of 7 coaches, and we have access to those coaches, but you also have access to a community that operates 7 days a week. And the purpose of this is for your accountability, for your engagement. We have a lot of different things and resources and tools in there for you to use that's absolutely free. Now, everything, we're coaches. So the coaching, us coaches, there's going to probably be a paywall against some things because we work hard at what we do. But to engage in a community and immerse yourself in it is free. And this is where I do my, what I call office hours, where you have access to ask me questions, talk about things that you may be going through, whether you're dating, single, relationship, marriage. And it's just kind of like a fireside chat. So if you are interested in the community or you don't know what I'm talking about, put a 1 in the comments real quick. And so let me wrap this up real quick while you guys are doing that. So just think about this, guys. Everything I went through tonight, right? Even though a lot of times it sounds like a lot, this whole boundary thing is important. It's extremely important. It's probably one of the most important things you're going to need as you kind of date, relationship, family, friends. If these boundaries are not adhered to, you're going to have to perform just for you to have a semblance of peace and happiness. And at some point, it's got to be about you. We put ourselves last. I talk about this all the time. When you put yourself last all the time, your boundaries are probably weak as hell. Trust me, I know. So we got to start with putting ourselves higher on the priority list, way, way at the top. So the other people in our lives, they're going to have to respect what the hell we doing for us. And I know it's not easy, but you do not have to take this journey alone. That's why we coach. Because it's not easy. We didn't arrive to where we arrived easily, but now it's like, I just ran this race and I see how it could be better for other people so they don't have to go through what I went through. And so that's what the coaching does, is it makes sure that you don't have to do it alone. Because doing it alone, you either A, not going to start, B, you think it's too scary. Either way, the outcome is you're still sitting at home. So you're going to have to sit down with yourself one day and sit down and realize that you're going to have to start working on something in order for you to get better results. You have to. It is imperative. It is probably one of the most important things in your life is self-development and Venus, self-mastery, right? We got to do it, right? It's like air. We need it like we need healing the same way we need air and food and water. We have to take it that seriously. We have to stop rescheduling our healing process. It's not a New Year's resolution. It's a lifetime commitment to yourself. Because January is right around the corner. You're going to wait till January 1st to be like, I'm going to start healing starting January 1st. No, you need it today. Get out the dating pool and sit down and heal. If you need help with that, contact me and I can direct you to what you need to help, right? So I'm going to wrap this up so we can head over to the Discord for the Q&A with me. And it's cool. Like, we learn a lot in those Q&As over in the community, and people share a lot of stuff that you can connect with and understand that it's not just you. A lot of things that's talked about there you're going through right now, and it's good to be able to share and be in a community where it's safe and non-judgmental, and it's not, on these mean streets of TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. So head on over there. If you need to figure it out, click the link in my bio, and at the top, I think it's like the second button, it says Mind Your Mental Community, and just follow the instructions. So let me say this real quick. I try to make it easy for you guys by making the buttons really, really, really big. So when I tell you guys to click the link in the bio and click Mind Your Mental Community, and I literally have step 1, step 2, step 3, and you contact me and say, I don't see the button, then I know you never went, because the buttons are big. I do that on purpose. So go in there, find a big button, and just push it. And I guarantee you a miracle will happen. Okay? But if not, you can still inbox me. I'll help you out. But your language, remember language, I can tell that you never went there. I can always tell. You're like, do you charge for your services? How do I get coaching? Did you click them? Anyway, y'all have a good night. And I'll see you guys over in the Discord. I'm giving y'all some extra time so y'all can go get your Kool-Aid or your little water or whatever you got to get. And I'll meet you over there. If you have issues getting in there, let me know. 49 people in here. All of y'all ain't in the community, so y'all need to get familiar. If not, just at least keep following me. I do this every single Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And at 8:30, I do office hours with Coach Derek in the Mind Your Mental Discord community. And I'll be doing more pop-ups throughout the week, so stay tuned. Times to be determined, so you got to be following me and click that bell at the top of the profile so that you can follow everything. And we gonna keep pushing, and we gonna keep healing with you like a family. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.